Yeah, we're working.
Yay.
Sorry about that, everybody. It happens.
Yep.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a stream if something didn't break. That's like how these things work.
That's right.
Is-
Oh, you
can-
know what? We missed a golden opportunity to just come back, like someone just dump a bunch of fake blood all over us. It's like, stand there, like, ah.
Are we confirmed on?
I think we are on. There's
Paul's nodding.
came in with
All right,
being
sweet.
a knucklehead.
Hey, so I actually really like that question. It was like, are you going to have like a tiered research structure? And like, I think that's like a really great structure to have for like tech trees and kind of researchy things. So yeah, I think we'll definitely look into that. But the data would support it either way. But I do like that sort of like, you research one big thing, and then there are all these smaller types of tech that fall off of that, and you have the choice of like sort of stopping and researching all these small things to give you little benefits now in the short term versus like, really jumping up to that next big tier, which is going to take a long time and a lot of resources. And it's like, it's just all about choices, all about interesting choices. And I think that's a really good one to have. So
Might be fun to allow you to queue up items as well. We haven't really talked about this, but like let's say I get to that point where I'm near the end of the game, I have a bunch of kind of this spider web of all these neat options opened up, and it'd be neat if I could tag it and be like, that's number 1, that's number 2, number 3, and then if number 1 doesn't unlock a new one, so my stuff hasn't changed, it just goes to number 2 automatically.
yeah, just keep researching, man.
Cool. Well,
Okay, sweet. So we got a lot to go through. So I'm gonna jump over to, is this F11? Yeah.
Brad, would you say we're slam jamming through
We're
this?
slam jamming through this. I would say that.
I can get behind that.
And then check the view as well, just to make sure it's not on the print view. Because I formatted these with page breaks so that it looks really good without
Unchecked
the print
print
layout.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, cool. So now we're gonna jump into our current thinking for the relic system. So this all starts with this concept of acclimation, which is pretty. It's both a cool concept and it's we thought that it would combat the population explosion stuff that happens. So the idea is that like as a hero, you will not produce a relic until you have really proven yourself on the battlefield.
Boom.
That like you are
in combat.
Yeah, in combat. Like if you are
ready.
born and then you train a little bit and then you like sit around the keeps and then you take over for your mother in the keep as the ruler and then you die in your bed, you didn't do anything heroic. You're not like, you're not like a champion. You're not gonna like produce something that's of value for your family, one of these relics.
Is that kind of insensitive towards the
It sort of is.
homebodies?
It sort of is. It sort of
In
is.
this culture.
But in this culture, like
That's
you
right,
got to
they're
get out
the
there.
warriors.
You got to
Yeah.
get out there and cut some
massive
demon
chalice
heads.
Get out
Just
there and cut some demon
slice
heads.
some demon faces.
You're always a disappointment to me.
Exactly.
So
Never
so
claimed.
so the idea is that when you enter the hero retinue, so you're fresh out of you finish your training and you're like cool, you're in there and then you're gonna get some kind of XP from the people that raised you. So you might come out at level 1 because you're beginning the game, or you might come out at like level 8 or something like that. Based on all of the XP that you've gotten from that's been passed down to you. But you won't. That doesn't guarantee you like acclimation if you get a lot of XP. There's going to be this kind of extra bar that's set for you in order to become an acclaimed hero. So if you're level 1, it'll be like level 4 or something. Like you'll have to fight and earn enough XP to get to level 4, and then boom, you'll be acclaimed. And then that's when you'll get your nickname, and you will be like a hero of legend. And then when you die, either on or off the battlefield, so you can either once you're acclaimed, if you die in combat or if you die peacefully in your bed after you're retired, you will produce a relic. And the stuff that we're looking for at the relics, there are these really awesome. I'm gonna skip down here because I know that there's like some visuals for this, and we'll get back to all of this in a moment.
Can we talk about Swiss Helm's completely badass diagrams that he makes? I love these things.
There's some good
because they're good. They're
and
always
also
flow properly. They always look right.
This one's got some really badass diagrams in it. So
Yeah.
so
Thanks,
the thing that we're looking at right now are these like really interesting, mostly Christian relics, and I think they're actually called relics, right? Like these Christian relics.
Yeah,
they're like
reliquaries.
They're like the bone. Here's the femur of John the Baptist, or I don't think that's actually a real one, but
that would be a pretty awesome relic.
like
People would
here's
like
the
that one.
skull of like this saint, or like here's the
foot.
there are always these weird body parts, and we think that this is a really cool way of having some like super bizarre kind of double findy humor of like these things. Like somebody suggested having be my tooth being a relic in the game, or somebody's like toenail or their like ear,
mustache hair,
or mustache hair. Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't like have to be all body part stuff too. So like those last two pictures are from are relic-based objects that are like more like baubles, or someone could have an earring, or like in the original video you had like the glasses.
Yeah.
Get passed on, and
so like down the line we'll like brainstorm a bunch of like crazy things, and so your hero, if he's acclaimed, if he or she is acclaimed, they'll produce one of these relics, and that's like it's meant to be kind of like a powerful magical object that is that stays in the family and is passed down and can be used by anyone in the family. So the idea, the direction that we're going with this is that we talked about our skill system last time for the classes.
Hey Brad.
Yeah.
Quick interjection. Sorry. You're right in the that's his name in the chat channel. He brought up that Nova episode we were talking about that got Jeff excited about, where the Vikings would use crushed bones of the dead to make for carbon for steel.
Awesome.
So I think that's
really
perfect timing,
really incredible. I had never heard of that before until
so
a couple days ago. It's really insane.
Yep.
But yeah, you can use what is the carbon in your bones can be used in like iron
guess.
working or whatever.
Or like your enemies,
Holy
or like
crap.
they would use like bears, like bear bones.
Yep.
That's nutty.
Yep. So, okay, so our thinking is that you'll take these relics and they can be equipped into a skill tree. So much like a kind of Diablo socketed gems or materia from Final Fantasy VII.
Kind of meets actually upgrading a skill, like
right, because a lot of
Diablo
systems
2, like put another point into this.
Yep, like a lot of systems like this focus on equipment, like socketing your armor or your helmet or your weapon. But we kind of want it, like I really want to see this thing be a totally orthogonal system. That relics are not weapons and they have nothing to do with weapons, like they have to do with kind of like the innate abilities of a hero.
And also the actions, because like one of the first things, and this is further down here too, but that image that Derek did of the guy with the cape coming out with the ancestors in the cape, like the original idea there was that he's doing an action, like some crazy attack, where his ancestors are kind of powering his attack.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily through his sword, it's through him and his actions. This kind of is going to play into that.
And we thought this would be an awesome way of doing that. So so when you're looking at your skills, so here we just have like a warrior ability cleave, which is pretty generic fantasy stuff. So we'll be improving all this stuff. It's just a placeholder. Mm-hmm. But so this particular hero has 2 relics available, and cleave has these 2 missing pips here that can accept relics. So when you drop 1 in there, your cleave will do like 10% more damage. When you drop a second one in there, the cleave will do 15% more damage, and you'll get 1 action point for every enemy that you kill during the cleave. And that's like, so we just have sort of like, a base cleave, a level 1 cleave, a level 2 cleave, or level 2, level 3.
Yep.
Whatever, who's counting? It's just a way to like power up your skills and give you a lot more choices inside of your skill tree, because we want the skill trees to be like pretty simple, because again, you're going to be filling them out several times throughout the game. As you get new generations of characters, you'll have to be traversing those skill trees again. And this is a way of like, adding more decision points inside the skill tree, where you're like, okay, I've picked which skills this guy's going to have, but now it's like, there are 4 relics from his family. How many do I want to equip for him versus his brothers and sisters or uncles or whatever, and like where do I want to put them? It should give people tons of choices when they're trying to like optimize their characters and stuff.
Brad, a lot of people are asking, including Rob Heb, what do you imagine a level 3 time punch would do?
I think we have that here, like level 3 time fist.
Yeah.
John's placeholder idea for the time fist is that when you hit a dude and he's gonna disappear for a couple turns and then come back. So if you drop a relic in there, he'll actually take a bunch of damage when he comes back
Right
in.
on.
I was imagining in like in Galaxy Quest when they first try their like teleporter device and it turns the pig inside out and it kind of explodes. That scene is so great. So if you have like a really high-powered time fist, you punch a guy, 3 turns later, guy pops in and then just blows up. And they're just like, yeah.
It was so badass you made him wait a few turns before he exploded.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Also Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. Oh
Awesome
man,
film.
one of the best.
So you'll be
Film.
so here's like the mock-up where you know you can see the actual whole tree in this example, and you can see that there's like 4 relics, and these would be the icons of, you know, one looks like a tooth and one looks like a femur and one is like, you know, whatever. There'll be all these like weird kind of creepy relics from your deceased family. It's getting pretty dark as I start talking about it right now. But again, hopefully we can put some humorous things in there so that it feels kind of cool. And when you hover over these, you'll be able to see like, this is from your great granduncle, and you're like, oh, that's kind of rad. Like you'll remember those characters, and that's like just kind of cool. Like they gave you these bonuses that you get to equip and take into battle. And then you'll just be able to, you know, easily drop them into the skills that you've taken. So Stone Skin is the skill right here that hasn't been selected on this choice. So you wouldn't be able to put any relics in there. That's an ability that you just don't have. But any of these orange ones are the ones that you've taken, and you'd be able to equip those. And then, you know, we want to set it up so that there would be skills could accept multiple relics, so they have that like level 2, 3, maybe even 4 version.
Yeah, if it makes sense.
But yeah, a lot of it is just like, I mean, I think all of them should have 1 slot. And we'll kind of see, like, you know, from a production standpoint, how difficult is that and all that stuff. Also, how many relics do you actually, you know, are you actually gonna have? Like through on a normal playthrough, are you gonna have like 20 per family? Or are you gonna have like, you know, only 5 because like we want acclimation to be something that's like really difficult to achieve and all that. You know, there are so many factors going into it. We really don't know. And it's also like, you know, when you have a brother and a sister going into battle, it would be cool if there were enough relics for them to sort of like both fill out their tree in a reasonable fashion. Oh, also one thing that's missing here, if you have dual classes, you'll be able to also equip those relics into your secondary class skills as well.
Yeah, this is a single class dude who didn't get trained.
Yep.
There are a few people asking, like, what about the results from your mom or your dad or your significant other? Like how would those play in, i.e. dual classes? So is it just another tree that goes down the other side? It's
a
separate, separate.
And that was
system.
something that we talked about last time, and we could bring that up if people want to see it again, just the way that looks. But it's really just sort of, you know, your secondary class is like a truncated tree. It's just a smaller tree for that other class, and you'll be able to traverse it and drop relics into it in the same way that you traverse your main tree.
Great.
And then the difference between a relic left by your dad versus your great-granddad in this version of the system does not make a difference, right? Like, it's just about having any relic that you can equip, which would be relics from your house, in that slot. So I was thinking that, you know, we could expand upon that in some way to like have, you know, an idea of like a normal relic and then like a super relic. And I don't know what would cause a super relic. Either that could be something that a certain amount of age, or like if that was used by another guy who was
double acclaimed.
Yeah, like a
double acclaim, a dude that goes like all the way, you know.
And so there could be ways to do that, like where, you know, we change that. But then again, it makes a new tuning version of every one of these skills. So we'll have to see. But in this version of it, it doesn't matter which relic is in the slot. Just as long as you have somebody who's been acclaimed from your household who's backing you up.
Mm-hmm. And I like the simplicity of this because I think that there are a lot of decisions you're going to have to make during it, and that's cool. So when you're kind of picking your
I forgot about Breaking Bread.
Yeah, that's John put that in there.
That's awesome.
Super silly. So like this is a placeholder for like when you're deciding which heroes you're going to be sending into the tactical fight. And there'll just be like a nice notification to tell you like, hey, this character has relics that are available. You should probably equip them.
Because in the current thinking, there's no reason not to. Like you want to use them all. You don't necessarily need to use them all in one guy. Like you can choose when to use them. But in this version, at least right now, we're thinking that if a guy dies in combat, he's just going to drop the relics. You're going to get him back. So they could be consumable, and that's another option here. You know, if you use them and they're kind of gone, or if the guy dies and they're lost forever. But
it just really feels like I think that losing a bloodline is going to be kind of a damaging thing in the game.
Yeah,
like I feel like
it could be a cascading damage. Like
exactly,
it could be really bad.
Yeah, and also I mean I think we do want you to have that feeling where you're kind of building up through the ages, and you know your 4th generation character is going to have like all these relics that have been built up, and I think that's really cool. You know, you don't want to like blow them all on your 3rd generation, and then the 4th generation just doesn't have any because the guy, you know. Because his mom used all of them. Like, that's just kind of annoying.
The family relics. All
So,
spent.
That's actually a really good question. I hadn't even thought of this even in our meetings. Soylent Pete asks, "What if can you and what if you lose a relic? Is that possible?"
Right now we're
without
thinking
a whole bloodline.
Yeah, right now I'm thinking no. We have talked about like enemies having special abilities to do this kind of thing,
Knock 'em
or
out.
maybe in a random event, you're asked to like sacrifice a family relic in order to gain something else. So I think we can play with that. I'd like to contextualize it, but I don't think in the base mechanics losing relics will be a thing.
Yeah, and I think much like in new XCOM, even if you team wipe, you get all your equipment back when you
Right.
team wipe.
Because when I play XCOM, I kind of think that, not with a team wipe, doesn't really work just that way, but like when I beat a mission, there's this kind of sweeper force that kind of comes in, and it's like the Men in Black, guys that are like zapping everybody, and they're cleaning up, they're picking up the
Collecting
body
all the
parts, and
bodies,
like,
yeah.
here's the body, and there's Vasquez over there who died. We're gonna we need this Titan armor, and they kind of take them off of them. So I think it's the same thing kind of with the relics, like if you fall in battle, you'll pick it up. And that's also like, oh, this guy, he's acclaimed, he has a relic. I mean, we'll have to figure out how that works.
And we also, I really like this, John, this was one of your ideas for the acclamation, is that if you die in battle, you will get a huge XP bump.
Yeah,
which doesn't make any sense when you think about it. But
it's based on, the cool thing is, and I think it's in this, it's in this other doc I wrote.
Yeah, I think it is.
But so when you die in battle, you get an XP bump, but it's actually a multiplier on the XP you've already earned in that mission. So if you start a mission and you're like this old guy, and then you just like run to the first guy and then get killed, sorry, you're not really going to get much of an XP bump. If you've killed 3 demons and that 4th one gets you, you're going to get this huge multiplier on the XP you already have, and that is hopefully in some cases will be enough to make you acclaimed.
Right.
So we can get these cool times when you have a guy coming in level 3 and then he gains level 5 in death and becomes acclaimed, and you're like, yes, that guy was awesome. That was really cool.
And then he leaves a relic behind, because that's one thing that a lot of people have asked about is like, oh man, it's so much better to fall in battle like as a warrior.
I'm trying to figure out how to proceduralize that.
Yeah, and it's like,
sense.
I mean, we want to have that because it's a very cool concept, but at the same time, it's also a very gameable concept where you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna send this guy in and have him die in battle so that I get this cool reward. It's like, we don't want the characters to feel like they are these weird disposable things or whatever, So I think it's gonna end up being a cool system where, these are guys that you're trying to get acclaimed anyway. But then if they happen to die, that will give them a big bump and then acclaim them, and then you get an extra relic for going forward. And again, it makes the permadeath a little bit less harsh.
Oh, death, where is thy sting? So if you want to go back to that picture real quick, I mean, just again, the idea here is that when you do a skill, perform an action in combat, that where you have a relic equipped to that skill, then you get a different VFX treatment on it, and that may involve something like this with like ghostly, particle meshes coming out in the back that are helping you. And so I think it's going to let us do this cool thing where not every time you're attacking you're going to have crazy ghost dad effects, as Brad likes to call them. But that if you've invested a lot of relics into a skill, you're going to get a really cool show from it, and know that it's different than that other guy he's got no family and friends, and he's just doing a little weak old cleave.
I mean, he's one of the homely people that apparently our society doesn't like, and
And also,
Anthony the good baker, he's not getting a relic. I'm still kind of upset about this.
Well, it's good.
Baker class? You want a baker?
Yes.
Bakers.
All right, just take.
It's cooler than bards.
I was thinking a baker bard
Shots
hybrid.
fired.
Sounds pretty great.
Shots fired. Do we have any questions about like our take on the relic system?
Yeah.
Because we can take those right now.
And also, this is skill socket version. We've tossed around a couple other big ways of doing this, and this is, I think, again, what we're looking at right now, what we like to go for, and something we want to play with.
Here's a good one from Mooney Gecko. And this is great in lieu of the kind of last great death thing mechanic you just talked about, the XP boost. Will we be able to unretire an older hero to fight his or her last battle?
Yes. That's maybe, but I think so.
We all know what John
Yes,
wants.
maybe. I mean, I said yes, and then Brad's like,
Maybe. No, I mean,
We've talked about it,
That's
and
something that we're going to be
it sounds
tackling
good.
in the next 2 weeks for sure. Is
Yeah.
like keep management has a ton of like crazy corner cases where it's like you retired this hero and then like you retire the spouse and it's like the main person dies. So what happens to the kids? What happens to this? What happens to that? Like what happens to the actual house? Like all these crazy things happen. We also don't want you to be constantly juggling people in and out of the keeps, as like an optimal way to play the game. That would
like
be
every year you need to be shuffling things
right.
around.
That would be a big time design fail. So we're gonna have to kind of work through it, but there is a really cool kind of feeling of like having somebody come out of retirement to fight in more battles, or just the awesome sort of procedural story stuff of like you retire, you have children, you raise them up, and now they're of fighting age, and now they join the retinue, and then so do the parents, and now the parents are fighting alongside the kids. That's super amazing. And then maybe the uncle takes over the keep while the parents fight with their children.
And the parents
That's
trying to get
super
acclaimed,
awesome.
gives you another chance to get them acclaimed as well. So I think, again, if we can figure out those corner cases and some of the weird things, like if you're getting trained and then you I don't know.
Yeah.
I think actually a current system for training will handle all that.
I think that there's a way to do it because it's such a cool emergent story kind of thing. So I'm hoping we can figure it out.
Great.
Yeah, confirmed. I don't know.
Gotcha. No, but that's good, and that's a big part of what we're showing here is we talk about laying. I always use that laying the big pavers down to build something, and this is just the beginning of just going that one level down and trying to figure out what leverage you guys want to pull, and that's such an important part. So these questions are great. We've got a couple more that are pretty good.
Sweet.
And now I can't find it.
Ask it again.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was really good though.
Oh, can relics be corrupted by the demons and become a debuff? That was from Kilbossa, B-O-S-S-A.
That sounds awesome, but I feel like they should just get destroyed at that point because it's like you would just never drag them into your slots and stuff. So I could totally see it. We've been had a lot of ideas. I don't know why. I think most of them are mine that are just really awful. That are like the awfulest things. I was working on like an enemy doc and just the worst things. Like my favorite idea was the demon that can sever you from your bloodline. So it can actually attack you, and it would remove your last name and remove the colors of your house. So that you would just it's like, hey, so that you can't be retired, you can't have children, and you can't equip any relics.
You can't pass
and
them
you
down.
won't create a relic because you were just like outside of your bloodline.
It's like
from now until you die.
Banishment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is an intense.
But you'd still be able to fight. You'd still be able to like fight in battles until you die. But then that guy is just
it's like
you become like the
warrior
Blackfish,
almost.
right? Or like,
and
I really feel like he's not really a part of the family anymore. But that's more of a social imposed banishment. It's better than your previous idea, though.
The previous idea was sort of like the demons want to erase humans. And so there'd be like a very high level demon attack where they erase you and all of your children.
Yikes!
So
there you hear it.
As if they had never been born, kind of thing,
Wow.
And that's probably going to end up being too harsh.
I think what we're showing the audience is that
these are my true colors
we're not afraid
as a designer.
Brad's not 0 F's given when it comes to like slaying fools.
Maybe I played too much Dark Souls last year.
But we're exploring what are ways that you can be damaged by the demons without being just like HP is gone, now I'm dead.
Yep.
Sure.
And having things that happen on the tactical layer that impact the strategic layer. Being affected by the demons in a more long-term fashion,
right.
But they're actual like physical attacks. Again, it's all about linking like if the demons are these manifestations of like time, the effects of time, and they're time monsters. Then like you're feeling the effects of time on the strategy layer. So it's like, and there are so many things that happen on the strategy layer that impact the tactical layer. I think having it go. Having more things happen on the tactical layer that feed back into the strategy layer are cool.
One last question for this section I think is great from Frederick Chopin. Is there any chance of having a black market where you can buy other relics or recover lost relics?
I like recovering lost relics through the kind of random event system where it's like, these are just, somebody discovers a cave. I don't know why it's got to be a cave. So he discovers a cave.
The relic cave.
It's like, who do you want to send on this? And you'll be able to select a hero to kind of go on a little quest, and it's all like simple text box kind of thing, and he'll have a chance of dying in the cave, or coming back and finding nothing, or getting back
house neutered.
Yeah, getting house neutered. Wow, that's the worst name for that. Or like finding a long lost relic of his family or somebody else's family. That stuff's super cool. So I think having relics. Plus, if we sort of work ourselves into a corner where through a normal playthrough you don't really accrue enough relics, I think having there be ways that you can get more through these other means is a really good way to do it.
Probably not going to have any kind of like shop kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be buying them.
It doesn't
like,
make
I think
it.
that's,
And also we haven't figured out this totally with the fiction, but I think the fiction is that whatever event is kind of starting off the game, like there are not relics from these families before then.
Right.
You're not starting the game with thousands of years of relics. It's kind of that first generation will make your first relics if you get them acclaimed, and I think that's cool. Although you may start with the backer relic, and this is something, I don't know if you want to talk about this, 'cause this kind of ties into this a little bit.
Yeah. And this is because that was something that we had put in the Kickstarter, and I think it's like the 35 or above, it's like, hey, we're gonna make this like cool backer exclusive relic. And so since we're going with this, where the relics are actually just like these pips that you equip, I think that it would just be a relic that you start the game with that anybody could equip.
Yep.
So
not game breaking, not. I mean, we had a lot of people get really upset
every relic
about
in the game,
that, which I get.
Every relic in the game will be bloodline bound. So I guess I'm not sure if we talked about that or not in this, but the backer relic would just be a relic that is not bloodline bound. Like anyone could actually equip it.
And then that lets kind of go nuts with what it looks like and what it stands for, and that's what we're going to go to the community for.
You totally got me with it again, didn't he?
Yep.
We talked about it. Excellent.
I just want to talk about, in relation to this, there is been a consistent thread in the chats concerning the Time Fist, and it has now gotten to a level 5 Time Fist will cause Massive Chalice to turn into a text adventure. And that's pretty much it. And then Soylent Pete says, you're sitting in a room facing north. There's a chalice in front of you.
There's a chalice. There's a white chalice.
Look in chalice.
Exactly.
You were eaten by a chalice.
Okay. Sweet. So we're gonna move on from We're gonna
show you some pretty stuff now.
And now we're gonna show all these pretty things. So let's start with this reference folder. So let me see if I can full screen this thing. I can F11 this and then pause it. Man. Okay, sweet. So I think that we talked about this a little bit. This is all the reference that we collected from these sulfur mines.
These are awesome.
And this is like really incredible and weird. Like I can't even believe that this one up here in the upper right is actually a real photograph of a real place on the planet Earth.
Photoshopped.
Yeah, it just looks like complete bullshit, but it's not. And that's cool, and it's creepy, and like just so these sulfur yellow colors. Really, this shot is sort of like the color palette that we really want to work from for the demons, because it's like a lot of really weird sickly colors, like this weird turquoise mixed with this kind of rusty, dirty orange, and then the bright yellow is just very creepy. All of the sulfury smoke. Also, these pictures are amazing. Like we didn't put any of them in here, but the actual workers working in the sulfur mines. That's
seen some documentary footage of it. It's
not awesome, but
it's a hard life.
Yeah, Derek put all of these reference things together so that we could show you, and they're cool. So the other big thing that we've been talking about have been the demons representing the effects of time, and like what does this mean, and what the hell is going on, and how could it actually work? Because it's kind of a confusing thing. It's very abstract and it's very weird. So we're trying to like put some images, just inspirational images that make sense. So this is one for kind of decay and decomposition that would happen over time, and like what would demons look like if they were kind of representing that concept. And right now my current thinking is that there will be different breeds or families of demons that represent these different concepts. So they'd have very different visuals, and they'd have very different actual gameplay effects. So decay, decomposition, like these demons might be able to age the heroes unnaturally. Might be able to just damage over time effects are very like poison and whatever are very like good for that, and can't remember other ideas, but we're still sort of brainstorming what it means to be a decayed demon on the battlefield, and then what it means to look like that. We really like this weird character up here in the upper left. It's sort of like guts on the outside and kind of, I don't know.
Kind of everything feels drippy.
It does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drippy in this whole thing, but I guess
Decor.
that's part of decay, you know? But one thing I like about this, and this has kind of been a mainstay, even when discussing some of the powers and abilities, seemingly unrelated to this, it seems like you and John are really going back and forth, including and the artists as well, about bloodlines and bloodlines time. It's like it's like one of like it's becoming these kind of this natural building of blocks.
And those are, I mean, those really like both support the main pillars of the game.
Right.
You know, like the epic timeline, like if the demons can really, you know, even though you're fighting them when time is, you know, quote unquote paused on the tactical layer, like if they can feel like these weird effects of time or these weird time monsters that you're fighting, that just really supports, I think that epic timeline concept and the fact that you're fighting over the ages and stuff. Yeah. So it also lets us do some stuff that, you know, you don't usually see in fantasy games, I guess. Do something that's kind of weird and new. So hopefully this actually becomes some interesting concepts for the demons.
I just wish we went through these first, because now I'm going to be terrified tonight when I go to bed because I'm dripping blood in my dreams or something.
So the next one was like rust, like oxidation, corrosion, rust, and this was really like I kind of challenged Derek to find some stuff that felt like rust that wasn't just rust, because one of the ideas that came up when it was like, yeah, rust, cool, that's a good one, is that, you know, it's just like, it's a haunted, empty suit of armor that's rusty, and it's like, there's your rust monster, and it's just, I don't know. I think that we can make something that's like more interesting than like the first thing that you think of when you think of a rust monster. Oh, there is also, I should have put this in here, the rust monster from old school Dungeons and Dragons.
Heck yeah!
Which is a really awesome, weird looking monster, but it's very Gygaxian, and it has these weird feathers, and it's awesome. But you know, from a gameplay perspective, having rust demons injure your equipment, like corrode your equipment, like make it very ineffective for a number of turns. It's probably some other stuff we can think of there.
I'd like to explore that in terms of the environment too, because when I think of rust, I actually think of like shipwrecks that are rusted. That's kind of what my think is, and I love how like D there, you know, is, I don't know what that is, but it does, that to me reminds me of a shipwreck, and you've got like areas you can breach and go into now that it's rusted because it wasn't before, but you actually can see it kind of crumble away.
Yeah,
that's neat. Anything with ships is cool to me.
Last night, my wife and I went to the Cal Academy of Sciences.
Yeah,
they do this really cool thing on Thursday nights, and if you get the tour. It's like they show you kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and they take you to their rock vault.
Oh,
and like
cool.
I had the best rock collection when I was a kid. At least I thought it was. I had trilobite and stuff, but I love that stuff, that and astronomy. So anyway, my point for saying all this is with this rust is the tour guide. She takes her RF card and she puts it on the vault door, and it's literally like you feel like you're going into NORAD, and there's these specimens of not necessarily like diamonds. It's like, you know, here's some gypsum, but it's like this perfect piece of gypsum, like, you know, pyrite, fool's gold, like how it makes like under A there, like that cubic thing. They had or I think it's F. They had like a square, a single formation of pyrite that was just like chunk, but they had this rust, and it was oxidation. I forget the original thing that oxidized. But it reminded me of like this rust discussions we've been having, and it was under the water, and like it looked like fingers, like weird, gross fingers coming up that turn like that oxidized green, and you can see portions of that even rusting. Totally worth it. Like, go check it out sometime. It could be cool inspiration for a lot of this.
That's way awesome. Neat. And then the next one we had was like fossilization and mummification, which is really, you know, I don't know, kind of a weird. We're not gonna have mummies in the game, but. Yeah, I really like this one on A. This is like lava flows that have solidified, and they have some really weird, awesome textures and stuff. So we're looking at this for environments and like materials and stuff. And I really like this weird one down here. There's this woman in this like strange, weird, kind of fossily looking skirt and like this very cast looking top. I don't know. It's very, very strange. The real thing that I'm looking at for this is that, you know, we've been looking for an analog for XCOM injury in a game that lasts, where, you know, the time scale is this long. So having one of your characters get petrified or fossilized by a demon, and then that character is like that that hero can't fight for years, basically, until they kind of thaw out. Like, I don't know. It's an interesting concept to have somebody, turn into a statue
You have
for
to play
20
the
years.
massage minigame and like rub their shoulders.
No, you will not.
Have you ever seen the casts they made from the Pompeii? The volcano of Pompeii. The people died. The ash covered them. They died, and it hollowed out.
Yeah.
And they filled it with the casting.
That
looks like that B one right there.
Super creepy.
It's terrifying.
The next one was like growth and multiplication and mutation. We've been looking at a lot of, I don't know if we'll have time to show this, we probably won't, but we've been looking at a lot of time-lapse videos, which are super rad for things like this. So like fungus and bacteria and rust and mushrooms. Mushrooms growing in time-lapse photography is like totally insane. And mold, I don't know, those are all like really cool. So this one's super rad. And these are incredibly creepy down here. Like, and we've been talking about this, like, we don't want it to be this disgusting because I think that these are like really disturbing and kind of like Silent Hill-ish. So I don't quite want it to go in that direction. But this one, it's like a weird, it's kind of like, it has like a human body and a torso, but then it goes up into this weird kind of like blood tree capillary system. I don't know. It's very disturbing. And it has a lot of that feeling of like unchecked growth, almost like cancerous growth or something, and it's just very creepy, this one.
It looks like something like out of Ovid's, like if you read the Metamorphosis stuff, where like everyone turns into a tree, and so it's like that looks like a bloody, horrific version of that.
It's very, very creepy. But like I totally love enemies that produce other enemies. That's one of my favorite things in video games, and so I think that fits with this really, really well, where these demons that are spawning other demons that are spawning other demons that are spawning other demons, and it's kind of like you don't want it to get out of hand. Kind of reminds me of like the chrysalid stuff that you see in XCOM. And then our last one is a little bit even more abstract, but it's like forgetfulness is what Derek was calling it. And this is sort of like having like an Alzheimer's demon. I swear I'm going to get punished for even saying that out loud, but I really like the gameplay effect of one of these enemies making it so that your character forgets how to do a special ability at random, or maybe even permanently, like a warrior that just like can't remember how to do cleave attack anymore. Maybe that's a weirder example, but it's an interesting thing. Like, so I guess that's like a targeted silence on a character or something. Like, I think that's interesting. Also, permanently forgetting how to do something is really weird and devastating. Could be, right? But again, like these characters age and die, so we don't want to shy away from actually doing these like permanent things to your characters, because I think that you get connected to them, you get attached to them, and then when bad stuff happens to them, it should be like really poignant and it should make your playthrough more memorable and stuff. So these are just like weird kind of like ghostly images. I think this one is the one that we've really kind of latched onto.
That's awesome.
It's just weird. I don't know where this will go. Again, because even though we have different like breeds and families of demons that we're thinking about, there does have to be a through line for all of them, so they all look like they're all sort of on the same team. That's actually one of my pet peeves with enemy design, when there's not enough of a through line with them. I think like the Halo aliens kind of have that problem, where they have like the weird purple midget, and then they have the other. And I know that their fiction actually supports that, where they're a bunch of subjugated races and stuff. Right. But I still think that like it's just sort of weird. They just, when you line them up, they just don't look like they have much to do with each other. And I guess again, the fiction does back it up. But I am more drawn. It was
better in Marathon. Like I think they've done budgets and better alien design.
Yeah, like I'm more drawn to the where you're like they all look different, but they're all kind of, it makes sense that they're all sort of the same family. So I want to make sure that we have enough of a through line through all these things. So. Yep, Derek, good luck with that. You got your
challenge.
You got your hands full. No, it's something that we're gonna keep working on for a while. The really good thing is that we have gameplay underpinnings for these sort of 5 demon families that are starting to emerge already, which is great.
And we can prototype
move forward and start prototyping this stuff up without visuals. So. That's fantastic. Like
so this is kind of a long play. I mean, this is definitely like not everything do we make all of these artboards for, but you notice most of the stuff we've been doing artboards for has been about the demons, because it's just gonna be hard to nail down.
Yeah. And this next one is so this is this artist Aaron Beck.
This guy's awesome.
He does some really, really awesome stuff. So he mostly does sci-fi stuff, actually, recently. But I think this is the stuff that he does, like, sort of in his spare time. It's on his blog. So he did a lot of production design for Elysium and District 9, I think. I'm not sure. I may be speaking out of turn. But he does a lot of, like, really, really badass sci-fi stuff, so you should check that out. But he does these, like, weird organic creature character things that I think are, like, really, really awesome. They have just a totally creepy, weird, different feel to them. Like, it doesn't really... I don't know, I can't place something that feels really similar to them. I especially like this sea here, this weird, I mean, it's strange because it's kind of just like a snake man. It's kind of like just a snake-headed man, something you maybe have seen before, like that conceptually, but these like weird hard edges mixed with the like really organic forms and like these weird creepy sort of like ridges on his neck, and I don't know, it's very, very disturbing.
It looks like his plate on top of gills, like his whole body is like gill or something soft and like...
So the main thing that we're kind of looking at are like the way that these hard edges interplay. Like they're not super hard edges; they're still rounded, right? But they are harder compared to like the real sweepy kind of organic parts of them, and that actually lines up incredibly well with the Soviet statues that we're looking at for the heroes, right? Like all of our hero design is based off of these like real, again, like these hard edges that aren't super hard. They are rounded a little bit. And so I think that this might be a really good fence post visually for the demons as we move forward and try to figure out what they look like so that they don't look like they're from a completely different game. I guess that would be pet peeve number 2 of mine for enemies, where it's like they look like they're from a completely different video game. Like you're like the heroes look like this, the demons look like this, and they don't look like they belong together at all. So we want to make sure that there's a little bit of commonality between them.
Oh, we may have a surprise. Some magic here today.
What's massive chalice for you? No, okay, it's not quite.
Whoa! Look at that.
Not quite massive chalice.
That is so amazing. And look, I'm wearing this awesome Magic the Gathering T-shirt.
That's right.
Wizards of the Coast.
This Teamstream brought to you by Wizards of the Coast.
Look at this marble chalice. It's pretty sweet.
I'll Photoshop.
Pretty sweet. Thanks, man. I will put it right here.
Awesome.
Okay.
My gift to you. Sorry.
Thanks, Brian. That was Brian Min, everybody.
Yeah, that's audio overlord Brian Min. Sweet. So we're gonna go over to the concept stuff, and I'm gonna pause this. Okay, so this was something we showed a couple weeks ago. This was the age progression. So again, we're going with like these very lanky characters with like really angular look to them and stuff.
Interesting thing is, I was actually looking at some videos of Vandal Hearts 2 yesterday, and which I missed out on, and unfortunately, apparently you can't play it on a PS3 or a Vita, which sucks. But their characters are proportioned very similarly in some ways. So
yeah, I think Vandal Hearts was one of the ones that Derek broke down.
Okay.
When he was doing the lanky negative space study and stuff.
Right,
I think it was one of the ones. And yeah, they
read really well.
They do kind of look like this, and they totally read well from a distance. So this was the original like age exploration, and then I thought this was really rad. Somebody on the chat, or a lot of people on the chat a couple weeks ago, they were like, do a female version. It's like, boom, Derek did a female version.
Yeah.
And this was really cool, like that.
Open development working.
Open development it's totally working.
It's awesome.
And I absolutely love his like older warrior lady. Like she is fucking still a super badass.
Wait, the
but
middle
she's
or the third?
The third one.
Yeah.
Sort of like I think that she definitely looks older, but she's like still a super badass, and I think that's really awesome. Like I'm super stoked about that.
I mean, and like even Derek is like able to capture like kind of like the tone of each age. Like the slightly eager but like juvenile, like the prime female in the middle who's just like she's holding the sword up like bring it, and like the older one's kind of got it. It's down, but you still wouldn't tangle with her.
More reserved.
Yeah,
more
right.
Reserved.
I just
wise. It's great.
I'm envious of that guy's skill.
It's super great. And I think we might have showed this one last week as well. This was like sort of the beginnings of, and again, so stylistically, like I just want to all of these actually. You know, we're still very much in like kind of standard Western medieval fantasy stuff, and that's all of the stuff that we've talked about earlier, like the Mongolian stuff, the Russian stuff. All of that is still going to be worked into it. So don't worry, it's just a lot easier for an artist to just jam out tests like this if they can just be sort of like your standard fantasy stuff. So, you see, and actually when Derek drew the one in the middle, he was like, yeah, this guy sort of looks like the Warcraft footman. Whoops. And it sort of does.
Blue.
So it's like, we want it to have its own flavor, but we can add that stuff to it later. Right now, like these tests are all about like getting the perspective test correct. Trying to figure out what this is going to look like in the game, and then how the game view informs like what the actual character design should be like, because you don't want to design a really awesome character in profile, in silhouette, and then you put it top down and it's just totally unreadable mess because it just doesn't look good from that angle. So we're trying to do it a little bit, trying to do it both ways basically, like make the characters look good on their own, but then also like go from the other direction, like bottom up, where you're like, okay, let's put the dude in perspective, see what he looks like, and then make sure that we can meet those things in the middle. So hey, we did this. Like this is I was playing XCOM. Yeah, we didn't do this, but I took the screenshot. And
Jake
this
and
is
the crew did this.
pretty zoomed in, but I took the screenshot from XCOM. I just loaded up one of my saves and took the screenshot for Derek, and then he did a paint over of it. And it's like, hey, that's pretty rad. Like, we're just getting an idea of like what could the actual game look like from this top-down perspective. And a lot of what he was exploring was like the lanky characters with the negative space, making sure that they look good, making sure you can like how big should their heads be, things like that. That was all that. So then, based off of that initial drawing, I think I have to. I really need to get my zoom in.
I think if you escape, you might.
I think if I just
pop back to the
get
original.
one of these.
There you go.
Cool.
Awesome.
I just want to zoom in on this guy. So this is pretty cool for anybody that likes artwork. So this came right out of the paint over, like these two characters. You're like, cool. And then he started like messing with the proportions. So trying to put like the waist a little bit higher. What else did he do here? I don't. Oh, this was I think the original exploration of like trying to make the female more of like a wedge shape or more of a diamond shape, while the male takes more of a boxy shape. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the female has a higher waist, and the male has a lower waist. Thicker legs over here, thinner legs over here. Basically, I think it was just like him looking at this and just not really being able to tell the difference between the two, between the male and the female character, and then like just trying to push them. And I think it gets pushed even further as we go. Another thing that he was doing was like moving the waist, moving the waist higher on both of them. Really helps from the perspective, and then also trying to make their heads a little bit taller and larger so you can read them from that top-down perspective.
Yeah, this is where
this
it's
one
probably pushed a little.
Starts
too far
really
here.
stretching out the heads and getting ridiculous. So I think we're backing off of that one, and this is super hilarious. So Derek did this one for me because, like, I don't know. He was like, "This is for you," like, because they're all cute, chibi Final Fantasy Tactics looking guys.
But one thing that's interesting about that is they do look more and more and more exaggerated as you go down the list. But we're finding, in some of the tests we've done in Engine now, right, that like you kind of need that exaggerated in some cases to really, you're at that weird three-quarter view, and you got to be able to identify these guys on the battlefield. So it's kind of interesting.
And this was again pushing that the wedge or like diamond shape on the female, and then keeping that really super broad boxy look on the male character, so you can tell them apart. Again, it's not really critical for gameplay that you can tell them apart, but it does add to the character's personality, and it is cool that you do have male and female characters. It would be nice to tell them apart. So that's just like I think an added bonus to push it like that.
One thing
See
that's
if we can actually. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I would just like. We haven't budgeted for doing male and female versions of all of the armors, so I just want to make sure we remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm more concerned, and I know a lot of people on the chat channel are too, is how you're going to differentiate the Bard from the rest of the other characters.
The Bard will be different from all of the other characters, all the other classes in the game, because it will not be in the game.
I knew it was coming.
So this one, like, the heads were really stretched out, and I think this is where, it's good to find your limits. It's good to find your limits. So I think that we're going to end up somewhere in between this one and this one. So
right on.
they're pushing this into the game right now, and we'll see. Real quickly, Derek did this one just to sort of like, almost like not forget about the Mongolian influences and the Polish armor and the tassels and some of the other things. Just trying to see what that might look in perspective. He just whipped that one out really fast. And then I'm not really going to be able to do these justice because I am not a super artist. But they've been doing a lot of like tests on like the female head to try to figure out like what are the planes going to be, like how do we chisel the face so that it looks feminine but still strong and not like, you know, not ridiculous. And there's all sorts of things. Maybe we can get Derek and Andy in here on one of these
That'd be
to
great.
kind of really like discuss the finer points of art. I know one of the big things that Andy was interested in after seeing it in perspective is that getting this shadow here, like really making the cheeks a little bit more sunken, so that when you look at it from the top down, you get this nice shadow as you look at it from that perspective. And here's like some more exploration. Derek is pretty good at drawing
this is
stuff.
his like quick exploration.
Yeah, this is just I'm just busting this out, whatever.
couldn't do that in 10 years.
And then here's another one.
He's amazing, man.
So yeah, it's really rad that he's busting this stuff out. And then he moved on to some male stuff. So based on
these eyes are so creepy.
yeah, this is something that we're talking about right now. All of the statues and a lot of the Mike Mignola stuff that we're looking at, they don't have eyeballs. Like they just have like a solid color where their eyes are, and it's weird. It really works in like the comics, and it really works in those Soviet era statues. It looks awesome.
Yep.
But we're just not sure if it would work like in a video game when the characters are alive and moving around.
Yeah.
So it's something we're gonna explore, and if it turns out to be too creepy, we're just gonna slap some eyeballs in there. It's just that when Jeff was making a test head so that we could do some different things, he just made a test male head, and as soon as he put just sort of like video game eyeballs in there, it just looked weird. It just looked weird. It just looked.
It was like a dead gaze. I didn't see that. That's cool.
It just looked creepy, and I looked at it
looked
over
to
his
me
shoulder,
like-
and it was a couple days ago,
Yeah.
and it just looked not right. It looked
Like
like
an
it was.
Egyptian painting, or like they'd have like the cast on top of the mummy.
Yeah.
And they'd like paint in the eyeballs.
Yep.
It looked like that to me.
Yeah, it just looks strange because and I don't know what it was. So we're gonna have to do some more exploration.
TK
because-
Not 21 says, "Yay, Uncanny Valley."
right. Yeah, we're definitely battling it. I mean, and we're trying to be like really stylized with the with the actual
D's my favorite.
forms and stuff. And yeah, I think these are really awesome. And like you can see that like with the simplified shapes and stuff, we can do a lot of like very different looking faces, and they all fit together, like I think so that's cool that we can have a lot of variation and stuff. And I love this as like an older dude with like this more skeletal, almost skull looking face.
It's almost
looking
like it's like
super rad.
low poly concept arting. It's a really weird thing. It's kind of cool.
It's super rad. And here's some more. I like this dude's mustache here. It's looking good.
No, don't mess with the
Beards are next. I think Derek jumped the gun, but on his schedule, I know epic beards are next, so look for that in a couple weeks. And then here's some more exploration of like some older characters. Sweet.
That's awesome.
This is marathon, man. Okay, only a couple more things to show, and then we can open it up for more questions.
Video time.
So Jeff has been doing some animation tests and some in-game tests. So the first thing that he did was this cam perspective test.
See how this idol he did would like read from multiple angles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So this was trying to figure out what the actual camera angle would be, and then we want to have that orbiting, the 4-angle orbiting that you see in games like this. Very very simple. What would that look like? It's just kind of like a nice mock-up of this. So he just quickly made a dude, made a quick idol for him, like in a pose, holding a sword, and then just rotated the camera, checked it out. So before he did this, we were looking at it, we were tweaking out the camera together, and I don't know if you can really tell. We did two things, because he had it at a perfect 45-45, perfect isometric perspective, and it looked very, very old school. And so what we did was drop down the pitch to about 40 degrees for this test, and then actually the other thing that we tried out that I think was really successful is that we changed the yaw, so the pitch is like this. Hopefully you can see this. The pitch is like this, so taking it from a perfect 45 and bringing it down 5 degrees, and then the yaw, taking the yaw on a perfect 45 and moving it on a 40. And I'd say that they're both pretty subtle, but I think they make the game feel more 3D. For the yaw, you can actually see it if you look at the grid. If you draw a line through the center of all of the squares, so they kind of look like diamonds, right? If you draw a line upwards through it, that line is not perfectly straight up and down, right? Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
It's at a slant.
It's at a slant, right?
Yeah.
Because we've rotated the camera ever so slightly, and it just hopefully makes the whole thing feel more organic. Like that's what we're hoping.
Yeah, like hard 90 degrees and hard lines. That feels artificial. So I think
Yeah,
they're trying
yeah.
to beat that,
So this is what we're gonna go with in the engine, and that was kind of a sweet test. We also this was from last time. I'm not sure if we had seen this, but this was all of those characters that we had farmed up. I'm not sure if we showed this last time, so I just thought I would
Maybe you should have still or something.
quickly do this, where it was just like, here's our pizza box guy holding the sword, and then this was XCOM guy, Warcraft Dota guy, Final Fantasy Tactics guy, and then our more lanky character here on the far end. And it's just like, hey, what do they look like? Yeah, it's pretty rad. And then he's doing some hit react tests. So with this one, this is like pizza box guy with Freddy Krueger claws as our stand-in demon.
So the goal here is to basically use the same hit react for just being hit and then also being pushed back and then being pushed back into a wall. There's actually just 4 animations here. There's going into the hit react. There's a short loop that you can play when you get pushed back. There's coming out of the hit react, and there's also an alternate one of those that's for the wall slam. So just basically trying to if we can get these kind of interactions with the characters, that's awesome, but we need to do it with the fewest amount of animations per rig as possible. So, sorry, I mean, that's
We're just trying to be economical about everything,
John's
and also
speaking my language,
make it look good.
Yep.
And then we did another one, which
I don't want us to have to be like, no, we can't do wall hits because it's going to cost us 8 animations per character, and we're going to have 20 of them or something.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, because it sucks. Like as a designer, man, I want to play with that feature. I want to get that in the game. We'll be able to do it. It's just we have to be able to cost it out.
And this test was all about what happens when a character gets hit from the back. Can we just procedurally rotate him? Is that going to be okay? And if you look at these, all of them look. Oh, and I also like that last one too, because that's reusing that sort of the wall hit as when a character slides into another character, and they could maybe even damage that other character.
Yeah.
That's
and learning
cool.
from this is, and we're gonna do another take on this too, but that very first one I think looks pretty awful.
Yeah, because it's rotating them over a few frames, and it's just you really, really see it. So we'll probably be popping that character.
Ask Jeff to see if he could do a quick one where it pops, and then another one where it just plays it in the direction he's facing, and then we'll see what happens with that. And that's just, I've seen some hit reacts that will work that way, but not all of them will. And some of that is just, how I don't know. It's if we can budget to have front and back hit reacts for everybody, that's the way to go. But there's some other ways to turn around. I like that actually the second one to kind of, if we're gonna do this kind of knockback system where you can knock somebody back and then they can hit somebody else, you don't want to have to do front and back hit reactions for when they hit somebody. Like, am I sliding backwards? I'm sliding forward. So having the ability to knock him into the slide backwards will help.
Right, and in this version of it, they would whenever you get knocked back, you would be facing away from the direction of knockback all the time. You would be going back first towards something, and that just really helps us with animations and being economical about stuff.
So Brad and John, having seen this, this is very camera focused. I've seen a lot of questions from the guys and gals in the gals. Apparently, I'm 90 years old in the chat thread. But they're all kind of, I can summarize them for you, and they're what you would imagine. Will there be, what are your guys' thoughts on flying in the camera for close-ups? Will you ever be looking at any point in the game from the perspective of one of these characters? Will there be free rotation, fixed on a compass rotation?
Sure.
I know a lot of these we're still exploring, but can you guys touch on that broadly?
I think that the forward directional orbit thing is enough for
rotation.
Angles for rotation. I think that free rotation is.
And
it'll cost us. I mean, it'll make us have to make the maps better read. Like the maps, we can make them better readable because we know the 4 directions you can look at them from. So I think that's going to help there. And you won't find yourself in a really weird position where if you had held down the E button for just a smidgen, you'd get to see the thing that you're not able to see. So I think that's cool. And then we were talking about doing some zoom in and out, and of course panning. You can talk about the ground level stuff if you want.
Yeah. I mean the zoom in stuff. I'm really not sure if it's going to be in scope. It's we've done all this scoping and budgeting. So Right now,
I mean, like kill cams, right? Not like
Right,
like
right, right.
zooming
Yeah.
a couple
Right.
levels. Probably you'll be able to get that.
we've been talking about just doing it with like pans and zooms to try to like simulate it a little bit.
Right.
Because I think that a full-on like zoom in there,
Over the shoulder.
do like over the shoulder zooms and stuff
Yeah.
might be too pricey because there's a lot of things that you have to account for when
Yeah.
you put the camera down in there and it faces more towards the horizon, right? It's like, oh man, we've talked about it, right? Look at that. When you have the more horizon-facing camera, it's like you have to worry about like your fog distance, your draw distance. There's all sorts of like other things
Yeah.
that start coming up when you
Does
do
the art
that.
hold up from that?
And does the art
perspective,
hold
right?
up? Yeah.
And I gotta admit, part of the reason I asked a little bit about that was I think this is a really important point to touch on. Like a lot of things we try and do it in showing this, our thinking like kind of behind the curtains of development is like this is a very big topic. I mean, early on, I think the three of us, along with the other leads, Andy and Chad, were saying, camera can like blow your budget so fast because the code and the design to run a camera is really not it. It's the residual stuff you're talking about, I think, right? It's that now you have to show a horizon, now you have to show high fidelity, now you have to show.
Yeah.
It can blow up fast. Got to be careful.
It's
with
rough. I mean, it's something that we'd like to do, and we might do a test on it and just like see how expensive it would be. Probably. So we're only a couple weeks into like our pre-production, but we sort of have spec'd out like this 2-month sort of first phase of pre-production, like for these 2 months, and then we're gonna have a back phase, a second phase of pre-production for probably a month or two. I think it'll be something we'll explore during then, and we'll just see like if it'll fit.
It can be
Yeah.
tough too, because it's one of those things where I feel like we could get some really cool cameras going quickly, but to take it to 100% will be a very, it's just going to, down the line, there's going to be lots of decisions that will have to be impacted by that.
Yeah.
So I think we can make an awesome game, and we also can make it very, we're talking about even if we don't go with like an over-the-shoulder kind of kill cam, having the pans and zooms work with the characters and the animation to make that feel dynamic and fluid. And also you have a better sense of what's happening on the battlefield.
Yeah,
so.
like what's that one effect we were talking about, Brad, that we love in movies? It's like the pan in and zoom out, or pan.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I love that
Tilt,
effect.
tilt shift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
where
it
it's like
tilt shift?
Are you talking about when like going from like rack focus, changing the rack focus and not tilt shift? I mean rack
Look
focus.
at this.
Rack focus.
Somebody worked on Uncharted 3 in this
Tilt
room.
shift is
I didn't.
It's a little-
It's the one where they like. I bet Paul would know this term. It's where they truck in and they also change the FOV so that a
the
push
push
pull.
pull.
Fantastic.
You pull the camera back
and yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
super
yeah.
awesome. Where it's basically the subject that you're like looking at stays in roughly the same place, but everything sort of stretches out around them. It's so awesome.
The first time I ever saw that, it was like some rom-com, because like some guy like found out some astounding thing. Oh no! And like it put it, and I was like, "That's awesome!" And my wife's like, "Really? Just stop talking." Like, okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
now the last thing that we have to show you,
Ooh,
which is what?
I promised somebody that I would ask John Swissham a question, because
Okay.
someone posted on the forums.
Is it about
wasn't related to
bards?
cameras, so I wanted to wait for an interstitial moment,
Okay.
especially before the big reveal. Big reveal. John Mooney Gecko asks, could you ask John his thoughts about the Bayou Chalice? And pardon me if I mispronounced that. Bayeux. Someone brought it up on the forums as a suggestion,
Oh, right.
and John seemed interested in it. I was wondering if the idea was discussed more.
So that was the idea, and we talked about how are we going to commemorate your heroes and their battles in the past, and so we talked about the tapestries, kind of showing in sequential form. It's kind of one of the earliest comics, it's in Making Comics by Scott McCloud. But then somebody on the forum brought up the idea that maybe you could emboss that onto a chalice, and did these really cool renderings of like, this guy got killed by a beholder, I think it was on there, and like here's you can
It's
see in like
super rad.
pictograph form on this chalice, and it was a really cool idea. And it also spawned the idea that maybe every house has their own chalice in which they record their history. And so when you kind of fill up your chalice, you're going to have to basically create a new shell for it in order to keep having enough space to record your history. So
cool.
to have a massive chalice means that your family has a ton of history and tons
Yeah,
of
it's like
great
the Stanley
story-
Cup.
Yeah,
You just keep adding
to
a
it,
new
so-
ring to it every time you fill it up.
And I think that's really cool. It's an awesome idea.
yeah.
Really, it sparks some great discussion on the forums. I think we still got to figure out what the fiction behind that stuff is, and then how can we represent that. And the thing too is like we're as you see with the specs, we're like really drilling down to like the core game mechanics. That's what we got to get up first. And and that stuff where we can add the flavor and the history, the feeling of history is going to be important. But we need to get to the point where we can start iterating on core mechanics first. So it just might not come on for a little while before we can figure out how we're going to do that.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Okay, cool. So this is pretty exciting. Is that this is the first time that we're actually going to run
Way to build expectation.
Massive Chalice. This is it, right? Like, so Chad set up the branch. We have a branch.
Chad's in the chat form, by the way. Let's give
Oh,
a shout
is he?
out.
Excellent.
All
Shout
right.
out Chad.
Lead
Dawson.
programmer Chad.
Yeah, lead programmer Chad
Made it
Dawson.
happen.
So he set up the branch, got it building, got our build machine
He
going,
moved
got our
his desk next
data
to
going.
us today.
That's
so
right.
Right.
We
Yeah.
got Chad.
And then Jeff managed to export the actual character that he was working with. So all of those videos that we were showing you were all done in Maya. They're all like play blasts out of Maya.
Jeff Solis is a
But
beast.
now-
Can we talk about that for a second?
He exported it into the game,
What?
and this is the first time that you've
What?
ever seen Massive Chalice. This is Massive Chalice right now.
Brad, is this running code?
This is running code, and I'll prove it to you by doing something you'll never be able to do in the game, and that is run this dude around with this amazing animation. Look at Jeff, and this is the thing, like Jeff is the master of just like quick and dirty getting stuff up there. So it probably took him, I'm gonna say 3 minutes to make this animation. And he's probably at home weeping right now.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah,
sick
Jeff's
today.
sick today.
Yeah, he's sick today, so that's
You
I
just
get
made
to
him sicker by
so I,
sharing this
yeah,
on
I get
public.
to I get to run this guy around and
Jeff,
and
you're out there. Thank you. And
yeah,
thanks for letting.
thanks
us
for
show
making
your
this.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like this is great that we get to like actually mess around with the camera angle. So this is the camera angle that was directly from those tests.
Yep.
And yeah, we can just see what the character looks like in those things. The mouse controls the camera, and you can do some of the crazy stuff. But if you mess it up, it's like this is because it's like a chase cam, right? This is the Brutal Legend engine. So yeah, as soon as you run around for a while, it just goes back to its like ideal settings. And so yeah, we've just been messing around with like perspective tests, and I don't know why these tiles are dirty.
And I asked Chad that too.
Look
I'm
how
like, it looks
dirt-
like somebody.
Look how dirty
You know,
they are.
like a I don't know. There's some dirt there, like
It's
a
just
dog. did a
it's
little
a
butt
coffee
scoop.
stain. It's a coffee
Yeah.
stain.
But
Coffee
they were
stain.
just apparently when the first take on this was hard to see the edges of like the tile chunks, and so this was to kind of show that
I see.
Like this is I don't know how big the chunks are, but basically
Sweet.
just showing like a 10 by 10 tile chunk.
We're talking about chunks and stains. This is very awkward at this point, but important.
Yeah. So
The progress.
I wish we had more to
yeah.
show you from our in-game demo, but this is it.
Next stages,
Humble-
Chad was talking about like
humble beginnings.
decoupling the camera from the characters.
Yep,
So.
getting away from like a third-person,
Yeah.
character action game, which is sort of what the engine is built for.
Right.
Yeah.
Even like having the notion of being able to have multiple characters and control them, like our seed core game engine, that's not a part of it. So like that's gonna be some stuff he's gonna have to tweak and code.
Yeah.
But
this
that
is
sounds
huge. I mean, this is when things start happening. This is the beginning of things becoming real. Like Chad, the lead eng, is going to start building in. He's got some other programming help going on. He's going to help bring in the tools to help you guys script and me if coming in to support if needed. We're going to talk about. I remember I heard Chad today talking about his ideas. He wanted to start understanding the level chunking system and how we could stitch up our nav meshes for that. So all
Yeah,
fodder
that's-
for future team streams. But
And
really
that's
cool.
definitely a good thing to point out is that I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's an
9 by 9.
interesting, 9 by 9. Maybe it should be 10 by 10.
By the way, Chad just said those are massive pizza boxes on the floor.
That's actually, we dismantled Pizza Box guy and then built the world out of him.
and we have like our debug menu support in here too. So this is kind of like what you get. Not this guy. Like you saw the screenshot that Brad posted, which was that pizza box guy in the world, and that's kind of when you build when you have a new branch of the Buddha engine seed. That's kind of what you get, and you get some functionality along with it. This is debug cam, so you can kind of like fly around.
Kielbasa says, this is trailer material right here. Put in some dubstep, some fast cuts, and boom, promo.
Excellent. Yeah, some wub wubs on this, running this
Some
guy around. This
wub-wubs.
is really fantastic.
And we could do a little thing about like our once we get some like Master Chalice specific debug at some point, it'd be neat to kind of like run people through that. I think to see like
Yeah.
here's what you can do in the not in the shipping game.
Yeah.
So
I think that's awesome. I think that's all we have to show.
We need some final questions.
Show today. So yeah, we'll totally
it was
take some
almost
questions
2
from
hours
everybody.
of stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's man.
Yeah, so let's do like a few minutes of questions, and then maybe we'll give it the old fond farewell until next
Sounds
time.
great. Sounds great.
So one came in, and before you get upset, Brad, I want you
gonna
to
get
hear
so
the full
mad.
question.
Okay,
I just want you to hear the
I
full
wanna hear it.
question. So Death by
Is it about
Sumo-
bards?
I'm not saying yet. Death by. Hey everyone.
Hey.
Who's this guy?
I'm not late to the
Hey!
big stream.
A wild Tim Schafer appears. Do you wanna?
There, that's weird.
Do you need a microphone?
Oh, we got a
Yeah,
vamp.
You're in
there.
there. You're in there. Yeah.
That's
Do you wanna? I don't know if anyone can hear you though.
that's okay.
Do you wanna just say hi to everybody?
You want to say hi?
Yeah.
Get in
Just
there.
speaking to Anthony's chest.
Per usual.
Hello.
Things got so awkward at work today,
It's
Mom.
so awkward. I can never keep my eyes off of Anthony's chest.
I know.
Up, he's always like up here, Tim.
It happens. It happens.
So hey, welcome. We're
just started the Q&A session.
we just ended our like informative dump.
Well, what a dump it was. It was a massive dump.
And
of
now
chalice
we're taking
proportions.
questions from
John
everybody.
Swanson gets his own camera.
Yeah,
I do, in my own
That's-
couch.
It's in his it's in his
My
contract.
invisible-
Yeah,
my
it's in his
invisible friend
contract.
here. Yeah.
It's in his contract. So yeah, if you have questions for
What's
Tim
that camera?
Schafer,
Who's on that camera?
that
It
one
failed.
Oh.
It broke.
oh, it's terrible.
Right
We were-
now I'm not in it. Right now I am in it.
Get back in
Yeah.
You
here.
do have to lean in towards your pectoral muscles.
It's
Which,
true.
I don't know if you noticed, but they're getting bigger as he works out.
Yeah, I've named them Apollo and
Massive.
Zeus. Apollo and Zeus. These are the guys. Yeah, it's not true.
Someone ask a question.
So we got questions coming in. So, okay, this is the one I want to tell you about, Brad.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to get mad.
Okay.
Death by Sumo asks, what about the bard as a chronicler? Basically, a cross-generational buffer. A bard, quote-unquote, records history, which allows you to better preserve skills across generations. What I like about this is the final sentence. So if you don't have a mage right now, but great-grandma was a mage, let's say a bloodline got wiped out.
Okay.
Great-grandma was a mage, and you have a bard, mage secondary skills become available.
I'm not against a bard, like in a game
That I'm playing.
that I'm
One
playing.
that
Yeah.
big game.
I just the thing that bugs me about bards is that usually they're like people with instruments that are then also fighting, and they're fighting with like
Magical musical damage.
Yeah, and it
Or,
just-
I'm gonna make you fall asleep.
but like I know that's not what he's talking about, but it's kind of interesting like having bards like on the strategic layer as a thing where it's like they are carrying forth these songs of like, you know, chronicling great heroes, and that like
is really
allows you to extend the hero's reach in death, like whatever. That's fine.
Why do you
But don't
have-
be fighting with musical notes.
You
That's
have
all
a
I'm
bard,
saying.
You just make it the save game system, so you talk to the bard when you want to save. He writes a song.
And then he has to sing
You know
it.
what you're
You have to
doing,
wait.
and
That's how it.
La,
That's
la, la,
yeah.
la,
He has to
la.
sing
Yeah,
an
he
entire
plays the song
song,
as it-
and
you might have to
and the
sing.
farther into the game you are, and you go to save, it just takes way longer to actually
It all
save your
has to
game.
run.
Exactly.
Everything has to run.
It's all in iambic pentameter.
Ooh, that'd be awesome. I like the
I don't know what that is.
calcium That's it's a prose method in poetry. Anyway.
But it would be really cool. So we could do something like that where you just have all these intros and all these like endings of the song, and they just kind of picks a random one. When you save, it does the intro. When you load, it does the ending, and it's just like, you know, and that's how they slayed the giant, whatever. You know, like it'd be
so
funnier
Brad,
than that.
That would
It'd be
great.
awesome.
We could do it.
But no battle bards. No battle bards. I'm
You
sorry.
will buckle on this one day, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. You're like,
not happening.
And so Brad has formed the battle bar.
It's not happening. Although battle bard has a nice ring to it.
And it does. See?
Sounds pretty cool.
So
yeah, you guys
it's
are
growing on them.
Wait, you guys are talking about that Kickstarter game?
Battle Bard?
No. That thing happened? That
What?
thing you guys Kickstarted? I was trying to get you up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretend that
massive
you remember
chalice
that?
one.
Yeah, massive
Tim has
chalice.
been doing a lot of
That's
writing.
what- that's what we're
Yeah,
talking
I've been
about.
locked
Yeah.
in my office. This is really still
Yeah.
see.
We got funded,
The truth
Tim.
is, I'm just a little bit. I'm like, I'm almost that forgetful.
Yeah. It's no, we
A little
did
too
that.
close to-
We raised some money to make a video game, and now we're making it. That's how we're making it.
That's how we're making it.
Internet.
I'll try. I'm gonna sit over here and come up with a new joke while you guys talk.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
This next one's gonna be better.
So let's see. Blah 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 blah. Are you willing to trade? Okay, here's something that we've talked about before. The Mad Pirate asks, "Are you willing to trade quote unquote artistic touch in 3D models aging if you go for a procedural modeling age morph?" We just lost the feed. Nope, we're back.
I
So is that
think
that's kind of like leaning towards procedurally doing
Yeah.
it, or like
Yeah, like-
handcrafting
Yeah.
all of
I
those
think
assets?
that we're just gonna handcraft those assets, like, because it's like it sounds nice. It sounds like it might save you some art when you're like, oh yeah, procedurally sweet, but it actually, I think you still need to do a ton of art, like exploration for a procedural system.
Sure.
And then you have a ton of code. There's a bunch of like programming that has to happen to support the procedural system.
Right.
And then there are all sorts of like corner cases and stuff that come up when you do something like that. So I think that we're just shooting for, again, a very stylized art style so that we can like make a bunch of different heads for the dudes. And then looking for like economical ways that we can show their age. You know, it might just be like, oh, well, this guy gets bald. That's pretty easy. You know,
Sure.
it's like changing their hair, like receding hairlines and balding and like long beards and things like that.
Different animations
Yep.
as well. Like,
Sure.
Yeah. So
Just kinda
I
picking
think
and
it's
choosing.
more about, plus like it gives us full control over it. I don't know. The things that I've heard about procedural heads have been pretty, they've all been on like very large AAA games with like huge budgets and lots of time to like explore on an art side and a tech side. So I think we're gonna stay away from that.
All right, that's a good one. Vaclu asks, will it be possible to have a character use Time Fist on himself to draw in enemies kind of like bait?
So actually, this is interesting
I like
because
it.
I did talk to Brad about telefragging being a thing in this game, and like Time Fist is perfect for that. Where if you hit an enemy in the future, but then you accidentally move underneath where he's going to pop out, that might be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Unless you have a special ability that like like stone skin, and then the guy pops back in, and then he explodes on top of you, and I don't know, it's weird. This is starting to sound weird, but anyways, so time fisting yourself or somebody else in your crew, or at least just teleporting them into the future, could be really interesting, and it might be a neat way to set a trap. So yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's a cool way to save one of your characters.
Right.
Like hitting a weak character with the time fists and having them get teleported out for a while.
While you
and
finish
then
the fight with the
you
guys
finish
on
the
the
other
screen.
guys,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
awesome.
the other character comes back in. I think, and that's something I'm really interested in, are like abilities that can be used on friendlies or enemies, and it's not. A lot of times with abilities like that, it's not like immediately obvious why it would be good to use it on your own guy. So being able to do that and have it be like sort of this thing that you discover after playing the game for a while is really cool.
It's a good new name for the game, too.
Time Fist?
Time Fist.
Yeah, it's sweet,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That sounds like Master Chalice 2, Time Fist.
Time Fist.
Punch your way to hell. I thought it was a good byline.
Yeah, I like it.
So TK-Not21 asks, regarding enemies, different enemies come with different levels of difficulty, a la XCOM, question mark. Possibly those that are higher are aesthetically much more crazy versus the lower minions. Are they more simplistic? Is that, so I guess the question is like, are we gonna like make our not necessarily bosses, I don't even know if we are gonna have that, but like the more powerful enemies, are they gonna be like crazy six-armed crystalline creatures of death?
you want to kind of have it, unless there's a reason for it, you want to have the enemy's power level be kind of obvious when you look at him. Like you want to feel threatened by a really threatening enemy, unless you go for a joke where it's like, oh, it's a little puppy, and then like, no, it's this crazy ass thing. So yeah, I think that's just gonna roll into our demon exploration, and we haven't even started like breaking all the demon stuff we've done so far, except for some of the early stuff where the different like types of demons, like the mage guy with the hands, has been just kind of the generic like, how can we have a guy that represents this? If we go with what Brad was talking about earlier, like the whole like this family of demons represents this thing, then we can start looking at like what's the minor one that all he can do is a very basic attack versus that like the mega version of that guy.
Yeah, we were talking with Peter Chan just before this meeting actually.
Oh, it's Peter.
He's awesome. He's awesome. He just signed a big contract. He's really happy. He's locked in.
Don't announce it.
Oh, I know. Did I just announce it?
Secret.
I didn't mean to announce it.
Not with us.
I don't even know who it's with. It's just, it sounds like he's great. He's got work. And that's, as a freelancer, it's really good to have work. He suggested like, the first demons that you encounter, they should be a little bit more relatable, like a little bit more humanoid or whatever. So that, and then as you go through the game, they can get kind of like wilder and like less relatable because you're already sort of like you're already into it.
Yeah, you're already familiar with him, so like, oh, you already know it's a bad guy, but now
Yeah.
crazy dude.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
on.
So yes, I think is the answer to that question.
Nice.
I don't know.
Another question. Two questions. Furious Cabbage asks, do you foresee interactivity between two different characters, like grapples or throws? And by the way, I'd like to point out, every Double Fine employee just scattered out of this chat room once Tim showed up. Like, oh, we're working, Mr. Schaefer, we're working. That was awesome.
That's really
Anything
amazing.
else, I come in here.
Grappling, I think that synced animations are just costly. They're just really expensive to do because every time you add an enemy, you're like, okay, well, I guess we have to do, the pile driver animation has to be done like for this, every pair of like this character and all the enemies that he can do it to. So I would say probably not right now.
But the question was more about other interactions between characters, right? So like even the knockback is like an interaction thing. So I don't know. I think we have to figure out like how to do some of that stuff on the cheap.
And there are ways that you can do it pretty economically.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking for those because you don't want it to be just like totally static.
Right.
But yeah.
That's great.
Probably not like specialized animations for like custom combo attacks or whatever, right?
Well, I think you point out a great difference, right? Like the knockback, that's very much an interaction, but a simple one that we can do pretty cheaply. But a grapple or like a complex headlock maneuver, suplex type thing, that could be really, really pricey. Another one from Rune Logic, are the classes all going to be attack focused, or are there going to be some healing, some control, leadership buffs, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there'll totally be some of that. It's just, I really dislike pure damage dealing classes, and I dislike pure support classes. What is funny? Somebody just said something.
Anyone else waiting for the shoe bump?
For the shoe bump?
Oh,
Oh, bam!
That's
Shoe
it.
five.
Boom.
That's right.
Shoe 5.
Oh, wait.
That was the shoe 5. Oh, yeah.
With
Okay.
our forces combined, we form Foot Locker.
I forgot what the
Get involved
question
in
was.
that. YouTube bump shoes for my pleasure.
Exactly. Yes, Mr.
Well
Schaefer.
done.
That's amazing. Support stuff. Yeah, there will be support stuff, but I think it should be sprinkled in amongst the classes because I think when you have
And some will be item based too, right?
Yep.
Maybe like
Yeah,
have a bunch
yeah.
of different ways you can get skills in the game. Class is just one of them.
Yeah, it's really sad because you don't want to have all your characters have died except you have your cleric left, and all he can do is heal himself.
I had that problem in Card Hunter, where I had like an hour and a half duel between my healer and another enemy healer, and neither of us could do enough damage to kill the other guy. It took an hour and a half. Two guys on the
That's
stage.
nutty.
I think that's a
I
problem.
think game's
So
still in beta. It's still in beta.
yeah,
They're working out the kinks.
Okay, I like that game.
Rob
Me
Heb
too.
says, that's really good to know, Brad, that you like some kind of mixed classes. So the Bard will not be just a pure support class. That's good. That's good. So.
Right. Yes, the Battle Bard will be able to do damage as well.
Raves are Brad, heals and kills. So, will not be in front of the game. Okay, this is actually something we haven't talked about, and you guys have done a fair amount of work on.
I'm gonna say we've talked about it. Whatever you say.
Mooney Gecko asks, will the Master Chalice universe have a bunch of lore like TES, or will it not be as important to the game? So I don't know how much.
we've
lore-
talked
Personally,
about
we're each writing 3 books, and I've got a friend on Skyrim, and they talked about how a bunch of their designers wrote all the books you can find, and it's just ridiculous how much text is in that game.
I don't
So-
think we're gonna do that. If that's what a bunch of lore means, the answer is no.
But what you guys have discussed is kind of like working on. And Brad, you've called a couple meetings about let's discuss the mythology behind this, just some supportive
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
This is some importance to you guys.
One thing that I've learned from someone on this couch, who is not you, Anthony, is that it's really good to develop a bunch of backstory and fiction for your world, just so that what the hell it is, and it gives it gives you a really solid foundation to actually make the game. But you should be really judicious with how you actually meter that out to the player, because if you put it all in there, it just makes, I don't know, it gives this weird feeling where it's the designer just had to tell you everything. I have to tell you everything about this thing. Here, read all these books. Am I like slamming Skyrim by saying
No.
that? But like here, everything's here, just like everything, and then it's sort of like, okay, yeah, that's all there is. There's no mystery anymore at that point. So if you just show like some really choice bits like here and there, say you only show 20% of what you have, maybe 10% of what you've actually developed on the backside, people might think that you did about 10 times as much work as you actually did, because it gets people's
advice.
imagination going.
Genius.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer told me that a long
how
time
do you
ago.
get away with doing less work? That sounds like
Yeah, how do I get away with doing way less? Like, I don't want to make this whole world. I just want to make part of it.
You do this like big mural. People look at it, they see exactly what the mural is. They know 100% of the content you have. But if you have to look at the mural through like a fence, through like cracks, you kind of imagine all these parts that you're missing, and you imagine it to be like 1,000 times bigger than the actual mural. But so if you put everything out there, you just get this one-to-one.
Yeah.
You know.
Full kimono. You don't want to go full kimono. Is what
You never go
I think
full
we
kimono.
use that phrase.
Is that?
Full kimono. I was at a club once. Wait,
Just
what are
like
we
a term.
talking
I had someone in a business meeting say that to me, and I just had to smile and nod, and I didn't really know what they meant.
It's a total kind of.
I looked it up
How
later,
much of
though.
the kimono are we going to show here, Frank? I don't know. Let's fist bump it and head on out. Like,
I had to look it up later.
So
I get it now, though.
Back in lore stuff, I am excited about expressing some of that lore through the random events. Like that's where we can drop some nuggets, where we'll have to have figured out some of the logic behind this world and how it works. But we'll be able to let people in on it. You won't see it all every playthrough. So I think that hopefully that'll be a really tantalizing way of exploring.
Tantalizing way of dropping hot nuggets.
dropping hot lore nuggets.
I don't know what that means.
is that the kimono?
That's
kimono
amazing.
Open with the hot
Yeah.
nuggets?
Oh yeah. You have to have the kimono fully open when you
HR.
drop it.
Tim has to legally leave this Teamstream now. This is getting
Unless
silly.
you guys all wear kimonos next time.
Oh.
Ooh.
Challenge! Wow, that's really presenting a
Dusty
high
kimono
level
off.
challenge for us.
We
Yeah.
didn't hit that stretch goal, Tim. Sorry.
Yeah,
There was
exactly.
the hidden kimono stretch goal, and it just didn't happen.
Do you have any
Next
more
time.
questions?
So I think we got time for one more. This is interesting. We haven't really thought of this one. Will you be able to walk around your castles, or just overview of the kingdom?
I think that we're just thinking.
The Ant Farm of XCOM type thing. You know?
I think we're just thinking the top-down perspective of managing the kingdom. I don't think you'll be able to walk around your castles. You want to walk around the castle? I mean, I do. That's like, sure, let's do everything. But if we had to pick, I don't think that we'll have you walk around your castles. I think I think the keep view will be more limited when you click on it. I'd like to sort of
Could the castle have a bunch of cocktail arcade tables also, and that you could play.
Oh my God,
games
that's
in your
awesome.
castle?
Yeah, basically it's going to be Shenmue when you go to visit one of these keeps. You'll be able to walk around,
Because if
open
you had
all
a
the
castle,
drawers.
You want to have a bunch of arcade.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I would.
Classic.
Oh man,
And then inside those games,
cocktail Miss
there's
Pac-Man.
other games that you can play. Sorry.
That'd be
Just to add
awesome.
value. Just
We have to add an
value.
emulation layer to our game. We got this. We got
Yeah,
this.
into it.
Chad is a beast. He can bang out anything.
What did he just say?
No,
he
he
gone?
can do the emulation.
Oh, okay,
thing.
he can
But
do
he
it,
did
yeah.
say I had to give while you guys were talking. I gave Chad a little bit of props. He's like, Card Hunter's a great game inside the chat channel, and I was like, Chad actually cleared Card Hunter.
He's been
that
playing
guy,
a lot of
he
Card Hunter.
loves it, and
A
rightfully
lot
so.
of it.
It's a good game.
It's a good game.
He did not run into the hour-and-a-half heal battle.
Yeah, that was a
John
weird
did,
one, and I won. I did beat it.
Heal battle. We just had a heal battle.
That's true. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's do that again. Let's heal battle this up, and we win it. We win it. Let's come with the full kimono next week, next team stream. All right. Well, I think maybe give some closing thoughts,
is
Brad.
that
Things
Yeah,
to look
I mean,
out for. I think
things are going really well. Now that we actually have the game up and running as a game with an engine.
Came up and running.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I saw that. Done and done.
It's great. I mean, it's cool to be able to have that, and now we can start pitching in and start developing some of this stuff. I think things are going to come online pretty fast, which is awesome. Yeah, so we're gonna just continue designing these systems to the level of these that we've shown you, and so we'll have at least a couple more to go through next week, not next week, in 2 weeks.
Yes.
In 2 weeks, and yeah, we'll kind of be ending our first pre-production milestone by the time we'll have, our next team stream. So yeah, we'll have more stuff, more art, more animation, more in-game and engine stuff,
more stuff figured out.
More design. Just keep going. keep opening that kimono.
Also, I want to plug our blog real quick. So like,
HR, and you're gonna put that in there.
so like massivechalice.com now goes to the blog
blog,
that Chris Remo and some people here set up, and we're going to be putting more posts there. That we're not going to send you an email about everything, but we're going to start putting stuff up. You already seen Jeff and Derek's stuff up there, and that's going to be a great way to check out the new shit we're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and that is technically a Tumblr. So if you have a
follow
Tumblr
it.
account, you can follow it and reblog it and all that stuff. So
RSS feed too, sports.
Yeah.
It's got all the internet whiz
we're-
bang haps.
feels like we're in the future. That's awesome.
The also just quick side note, a lot of people liked we got all of our Twitch streams over to our Double Fine YouTube channel. Big thanks to 2Player for getting some of the more unruly ones converted for us. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, so if you missed any, check them out on YouTube. If your work blocks Twitch, but not YouTube, which some people said, then now you can watch them.
That is amazing. That's awesome.
That'll be really important when we have the Teamstream with the Tim Schafer kimono battle. I think it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've been training for that.
I mean, every night at my house, it's kimono training.
It's kimono training. I'm not sure what's involved with kimono training. I'm not sure I want to know what's involved.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, on that note, I think we
That's
should
a
we should
wrap.
shut it down.
That's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us,
Yep.
and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Teamstream 5. Thanks.
All right, thanks, baggers.
Is that like a clap or like a sound that you make at the end?
Huzzah!